Good morning, everyone. My name is Natalie Fanny Gonzalez. I'm the Montgomery County Council President. We have two proclamations today, and the first one is a proclamation recognizing Ramadan by the County Council President, myself, with the County Executive, who I do not see here, which is okay. If everybody who's here for this proclamation, can you please come forward? Appreciate it. Thank you.
You're so cute. Are you cold? A little bit, yes. You look so cold right now. Mark is not cold.
Testing 1, 2, 3. Okay, it works. Again, Assalamu alaikum and Ramadan Mubarak. Thank you all for joining us today for this joint proclamation with the County Executive. Just imagine that he's right here next to me. That man is running late. It's okay. Thank you for all joining us. It is an honor to be with you, with so many community members as we come together to recognize the holy month of Ramadan and celebrate the vibrant Muslim community here in Montgomery County. Ramadan is a powerful, unifying time in our Muslim American community. American community in Montgomery County continues to lead through civic engagement, lots of civic engagements, service, and efforts that foster understanding across faith and cultures. At a time of global uncertainty and rising bias, your leadership and presence helps strengthen unity and compassion here at home. Montgomery County is one of the most diverse communities in the nation, and our Muslim community is an essential part of what makes us strong. We're deeply grateful for your continued contributions and partnerships. As we mark this sacred month, we celebrate the contributions of our Muslim community and recommit ourselves to unity, respect, and shared purpose. May this Ramadan bring peace, joy, and abundant blessings to you and your families. And with that, I'm going to ask, I know one of the speakers is here, the other one is not. So I have Iman Raghav. He's not here? Oh, there you go. Come here, please.
We have two other imams here.
Okay, well, one of them. There you go. You want to share a few words?
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Just want to say thank you so much and appreciate your considering the Ramadan and the celebration of Ramadan and the spirit of our religion just to promote the sense of coexistence and love and multiculturalism in our community, and we're here to serve. And if any help or any need for the community, we're here to serve our community. And we're so happy that we are engaged with the community and the public service. And thank you so much for considering Ramadan as a celebration and a part of our community culture in this area. Thank you so much.
Don't be shy. Come on.
Opportunity for new faces. Good morning, everyone, and Assalamu alaikum. Indeed, it is an honor to be here to represent the Muslim community on this special day of recognition, reminding ourselves that Ramadan is once again with us. It's a month of spiritual upliftment, and we appreciate the efforts of the County Council to have been able to recognize the Muslim community as a vibrant and forceful force in this community. We appreciate the efforts and thank them once again for the wonderful efforts. Thank you.
Thank you so much. See, that wasn't difficult. With that, I'm going to read the proclamation. The County Council of Montgomery County, Maryland proclamation. Whereas the Montgomery County takes great pride in being a community of people from all cultures, ethnicities, and religions, including the Muslim American community, and whereas Muslim culture has had a far-reaching impact on world civilization, and Muslim Americans continue to make substantial contributions to every profession and trade in Montgomery County and beyond. And whereas the Muslim American community has been exemplary in civic involvement and community service to improve the quality of life for all communities and to foster understanding across all faiths and cultures. And whereas the Muslim American community enriches Montgomery County through cultural diversity, interfaith dialogue, and initiatives that strengthen social cohesion and mutual understanding. And whereas Montgomery County residents and employees benefit tremendously from a better understanding of Muslim Americans as an integral part of our community. And whereas Islam is a religion of peace and the month of Ramadan is observed as a time of fasting, prayer, reflection, and community by Muslims around the world, including those in Montgomery County, Maryland. Now, therefore, be resolved that the County Executive Mark Elrich and the entire County Council of Montgomery County, Maryland, hereby proclaim February 18, 2026 through March 19, 2026 as Muslim American Ramadan in Montgomery County. We encourage your residents to join us in recognizing the contributions of the Muslim American community and to participate in the activities during the holy month of Ramadan. Presented on the 24th day of February in the year of 2026 by the County Executive and Council President Natalie Fane Gonzalez. What a great honor it is to be with each one of you. Thank you so much for coming. And we have plenty. Thank you so much. Next, we have a proclamation recognizing Teen Dating Violence Awareness Month by Councilmember Scott with the County Executive.
Well, good morning, everyone. We're still hoping that the county executive will be here, but if not, we're going to go forward without him. February is Teen Dating Violence Awareness Month, and you're going to see many people today wearing the color orange. I have my orange tie on to raise awareness. Teen dating violence affects nearly 10% of all teenagers in the United States, and many teen relationships, nearly 1/3, are characterized as either unhealthy or violent. Teen dating violence includes physical, psychological, or sexual abuse, harassment, or stalking of any person ages 12 to 18 in the context of a past or present romantic or consensual relationship. This type of violence can be done in person or electronically via social media. Teen dating violence especially affects girls between the age of 16 and 24 years of age, who are 3 times as likely than any other demographic to be abused by a boyfriend or other intimate partner. Consequences of teen dating violence include depression, anxiety, aggression, alcoholism or drug abuse, anorexia or bulimia, thoughts of suicide, and sexually transmitted diseases. To prevent teen violence, we must encourage open and free communication. It is imperative that we make sure both boys and girls understand the importance of trust, respect, and honesty in relationships. Choose Respect Montgomery is an initiative of the Montgomery County Domestic Violence Coordinating Council, and its mission is to promote respect in dating relationships and to raise community awareness about the prevalence of teen dating violence. Choose Respect will host Respect Fest on March the 15th from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. at the Wheaton Community Recreation Center. There will be free food, performances, activities, a resource fair, and the ability to earn SSL hours. If you're experiencing teen dating violence, you are encouraged to contact the Family Justice Center. The number is 240-773-0444. Let's work together to stop teen dating violence once and for all. Thank you very much. I'm going to ask Debbie Feinstein, who's the Chief of Special Victims Divisions from the State's Attorney's Office, to say a few words, please. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you so much to Councilmember Katz and to the entire County Council and to all of my colleagues that are here today to stand in support of Teen Dating Violence Awareness Month. Teen dating violence, as Councilmember Katz indicated, affects 1 in 3 girls and 1 in 4 boys. Unfortunately, there are not specific statistics to non-binary individuals, but we do know that with the LGBTQA community that the incidence of teen dating violence is actually higher than it is in the general population of teens. And I think that's a really important thing to note. Another really important thing to note is that boys are almost equally affected as girls. And we have a lot of studies that still need to be done to really assess the impact fully across our entire teen population. There are a lot of negatives that come along with teen dating violence, as Councilmember Katz indicated. But I'd like to focus on a positive for a moment. Our county does an incredible job fighting teen dating violence. We're in the schools. We're offering healthy teen dating programs in the schools. We have a partnership with the Department of Recreation where we promote programs with Soccer for Change, and all of the kids that are participating in Soccer for Change participate in something called Coaching Boys into Men and Athletes as Leaders, again, to promote healthy relationships, positive conduct, and that's really what we're focused on. I'd also like to mention that we have a public service announcement contest, and everyone will see the big reveal of the winners on March 15th, and I would encourage everyone to come on March 15th to the Wheaton Community Recreation Center from 1 to 4. It is free. There's free food. There's raffles. Again, despite the seriousness of the topic, it's actually a pretty upbeat with performances, yoga, Zumba, all sorts of things to try and kind of focus on the positive, that we're here, we're fighting teen dating violence, we're working on education, we're working on education around consent and sexual assault prevention, and it's amazing to have this collaborative standing behind me, representatives from so many agencies. I would be remiss if I didn't give a special shout out to Ashley Barrios, who is the program manager for the Domestic Violence Coordinating Council, and really is the person that does almost all of the planning for all of these incredible events. So I want to give a special thank you to her. And again, another thank you to the County Council for your ongoing support. So many of you show up and stand up in support of this issue, and we're incredibly grateful. So thank you so much, and thanks so much for the proclamation this morning, Councilmember.
Thank you. I'm going to ask the crowd behind you to please introduce themselves.
Jody Finkelstein, Executive Director, Montgomery County Commission for Women and Human Trafficking Prevention Committee.
Sheena Foster, Commissioner and Chair of the Montgomery County Commission for Women.
Shoa Tajamo, Commissioner, Montgomery County Commission for Women, and I also sit on DVCC.
Keena Jones, Assistant Sheriff at the Montgomery County Sheriff's Office.
Good morning, Maxwell Wee. I'm the sheriff here in Montgomery County.
Tom Mannion, Director of the Family Justice Center with the Sheriff's Office.
Lucia Diebel, intern with the Montgomery County Family Justice Center.
Ben Stevenson, Director of the Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation, also sitting on the DVCC.
Smita Varia, Program Manager, Family Justice Center, Sheriff's Office.
Tony Gibby, Community Educator and Outreach Specialist for Montgomery County Trauma Services.
Hi, good morning. Ashley Barrios, Manager of the Domestic Violence Prevention Programs with the Family Justice Center.
Thank you. Thank you all for everything you do. We're going to read a proclamation. I guess because the county exec's not here. And I think it should be noted that he is very supportive of this as well. I will read the proclamation. This is, whereas teen dating violence occurs within dating relationships when one partner seeks to gain power and control over another person and includes any of these types of abuse, physical, sexual, psychological, emotional, financial, stalking, and technological, and whereas 1 in 3 teens in the U.S. will experience physical, sexual, or emotional abuse from someone they are in a relationship with before they become adults. 1 in 12 adolescents nationwide experience physical dating violence, and 1 in 10 experience sexual dating violence. And whereas February is Teen Dating Violence Awareness Month and provides an opportunity for our community to acknowledge the prevalence of teen dating violence and promote education about this issue for our residents, and whereas Choose Respect Montgomery, a prevention initiative of the Montgomery County Domestic Violence Coordinating Council, offers a public service announcement video competition, programs for teens, educational programs and videos, and a community-wide virtual festival, Respect Fest, from March 8th through the 15th, 2026, and in person on March 15th, 2026, at the Wheaton Community Recreation Center. Choose Respect is supported by the Montgomery County Family Justice Center Foundation, Montgomery County Public Schools, and many partner agencies who offer services and support for teens, and whereas together we can reduce dating violence in Montgomery County through public awareness, now therefore it be resolved that County Executive Mark Elrich and the entire Montgomery County Council hereby proclaim Teen Dating Violence Awareness and Prevention Month in Montgomery County. We ask our community to recognize the pervasive problem of teen dating violence, engage in education and prevention efforts, support our friends and families in the process of seeking services, and spread the word about the help available through the Family Justice Center and Trauma Services. It's presented today, and it's signed by County Executive Mark Elrich and County Council President Natalie Feeney Gonzalez. And with that, we're going to take a picture. You don't want me to drop the mic?
Thank you very much. We will move on to general business. I have one announcement today. Pursuant to Section 3-211 of the General Provisions Article of the Maryland Code, I am announcing that the Open Meetings Compliance Board issued an opinion dated February 9, 2026, regarding a complaint filed against the council on October 29, 2025. In response to the complaint, the board found that the council did not violate the Open Meetings Act with respect to preparing minutes for a May 14, 2025 closed session. The board also found that the council did not violate the act with respect to posting minutes online. The board opined that two closing statements of the council for October 7 and October 28, 2025 did not include sufficient details about the topics of the meetings as required by the act. This announcement is not an admission of a violation or an agreement with all aspects of the board's opinion. The council appreciates and respects the board's thorough review and recommendations. The council and our staff are committed and will continue to be committed to transparency and full adherence to all requirements under the Open Meetings Act. Also, Councilmember Sells is attending today's meeting virtually, which she's on, right? Okay. Now we have the minutes from the, okay, can I have a motion to approve the minutes for January 27 and February 3rd, 2026 council sessions have been circulated to council members for review. Are there any objections for approving these minutes?
No, so moved.
Thank you. Seeing none, these minutes are approved. Now, the council will now sit as the district council for a briefing on the planning board draft amendment to the master plan for historic preservation for the Rosebud House. If the planning department and council staff can please move forward. And whenever you're ready, please kick us off. Take your time.
Good morning, Council. We are going to get a briefing this morning on a designation, a proposed designation for the Rosebud House to the Master Plan for Historic Preservation. I need to pull it up on the laptop here, but while I do that, I'm going to turn it over to the chair and to Ms. Ballo to give you some opening remarks.
Good morning, Council President Franny Gonzalez and members of the Council. For the record, I'm Artie Harris, Chair of the Montgomery County Planning Board. I'm delighted to be with you this morning as we brief you on our recommendation to add the Rosebud House to the Master Plan for Historic Preservation. The story of this home reflects the effort that Black families poured into seeking education and follows the history of public education for the Black community in Montgomery County. The history of this property and the family that has lived there for 4 generations are a direct result of the unique conditions present in Sandy Spring in the 1800s. If designated, this property would be the only residence in Sandy Spring listed in the Master Plan for Historic Preservation for its association with African American history. I'll now turn it over to Rebecca Ballo.
Good morning. My name is Rebecca Ballo. I'm the Division Chief for Historic Preservation with Montgomery Planning. Thank you all for having us here this morning. I will be very brief. This has been a wonderful project. The property owner, Ms. Romaine Rose, approached our office in 2022 asking how she could share and celebrate the history of her family and the history of this wonderful property that they have owned in Sandy Spring for over 100 years. So we worked very closely with Ms. Rose over these past 3 years, and we're very pleased to bring you this briefing this morning on the designation report. I'm going to turn it over to Serena Bolliger, Cultural Resources Planner with our office, to give you the full briefing this morning. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Serena Bolliger, Cultural Resource Planner with the Historic Preservation Division. Perfect. lovely. The purpose of today's briefing is to discuss the Rosebud House in Sandy Spring, which is being considered for designation to the Master Plan for Historic Preservation. The Budd House was built in 1912 by Perry Budd, a Sandy Spring native, lifelong educator, and member of the prolific Budd family, who were the earliest settlers of several African American neighborhoods in the Sandy Spring area.
Hold on for a second. We have some technical difficulties.
Perfect. Okay. Sorry about that. In 2022, the current property owner, as Ms. Ballo mentioned, approached the historic preservation staff for designation. Staff met the owner at the home for several site visits and worked with them to survey the home. We did research at several archival institutions and discovered numerous references to the Budd family in historic resources and built an understanding of the significant contributions of the Budd family to the Sandy Spring and Olney areas. In July of 2025, the HPC held a public hearing and work session and found unanimously that the Rosebud House satisfied 2 designation criteria listed in Chapter 24A3 of the County Code, and recommended that the Planning Board list the property on the Locational Atlas, and recommended that the County Council designated the property in the Master Plan for Historic Preservation. In December of 2025, the Planning Board voted unanimously to list the Rosebud House on the Locational Atlas and recommend that the County Council designate the property on the Master Plan. Perfect. So now a little bit about the house's site. So the Budd House is a 2-story wooden side gable dwelling with a rear L and a circa 1930s rear kitchen addition. It has stood in the historic Black Enclave on Brook Road in Sandy Spring for over 113 years. The house was constructed in 1912 by Perry Budd, and since the home was built, it has remained almost constantly in the possession of the descendants, largely through matrilineal descent. Perry Budd was a successful teacher and education administrator whose path represents the advanced academic opportunities and success of Black residents in the Sandy Spring community. The Budd House is located in Sandy Spring at 18583 Brook Road, which is indicated by the red pin. It's about a mile north of the historic Sandy Spring district and the Friends Meeting House and the Sharp Street Church. There are several designated properties in the Sandy Spring areas, and you can see they're highlighted in black there, including several White Quaker homes, the Sandy Spring Historic District, the Sharp Street Church, and Oddfellows Lodge. The property has never been evaluated. However, we have considered African American resources in the area in the past. In 1976, an African American historic district consisting of pre-1900 era homes was included in the original atlas for its representation of the prosperous free Black community established here during the 1800s. But by the time the district was reviewed by the HPC in 1986, it no longer had enough historic fabric or cohesion to be designated as a district. So the history of these families and that community is not represented on this map of existing designated sites. So the staff is recommending an environmental setting that incorporates the entire parcel, it's about 2.7 acres, containing the historic Budd dwelling. Sorry. And now a brief overview of the history of the property. So Sandy Spring, beginning in the early 1700s, members of the Snowden, Brooke, and Thomas families founded a white Quaker community around a fresh spring site and called it Sandy Spring. The Quakers, also known as Friends, in this area consisted almost exclusively of agriculturalists known for their innovation in farming. The Quakers' defining creed champions peace, equality, and community, and they became early adopters of the abolition movement. While many Quakers in Sandy Spring and nearby Brookville initially relied on enslaved labor, the slate-level Quaker administration issued a ruling in 1760 discouraging involvement in slavery, and the Quakers of Sandy Spring were among the first in Maryland to systematically manumit their enslaved workforce. By the early 1800s, had freed virtually all of the people they held in bondage. Therefore, black residents in this area had early opportunity for land ownership, paid labor, and education. So several free black communities then developed north of Sandy Springs locus along the road eventually known as Brook Road. And on the screen is an 1865 map of Sandy Spring and an image of its turn of the century streetscape. Two black communities in particular developed along Brook Road, the Black Enclave of Sandy Spring and a community named Cincinnati. Elsewhere in Montgomery County, black neighborhoods developed largely as standalone communities, whereas the black community in Sandy Spring and Cincinnati existed as enclaves within the white community because of the relative interracial goodwill with the Quakers. Because of their social acceptance within Quaker life, they had access to the Quaker stores and services in ways that the independent communities did not. Quakers were staunch proponents of education and had supported, provided, or funded black education in Sandy Spring long before education was available for African Americans at a public level. So we have records of the Budd family living as free citizens in Ashton only since at least the 1840s, if not earlier, and generations of the Budd family have been recorded as important contributors to the Sandy Springs black community growth. They are identified as founding supporters of the Sharp Street Church and the Jerusalem Mount Pleasant United Methodist Church. The Budds quickly became prolific landowners. The earliest known family landowner was Daniel Budd in 1855. And you can see on this map that by 1879, several members of the Budd family owned land in the Sandy Spring area, including Lydia, Samuel, J.T., and Hamilton Budd. The subject site is marked with a red arrow. It wouldn't have existed at this point, but we wanted to mark it on the map. And the land is, Arnold Water is the owner of the land. And then the surrounding Budd properties are marked in blue, at least in 1879. So the Budds worked in critical professions within the community, including construction, blacksmithing, education, and transport. Richard Perry Budd, which is the subject home builder's uncle, after whom he was named, Daniel Budd Jr., and Samuel Budd operated a blacksmith shop together to the west of the current Budd House on Brook Road, and records indicated that they worked for several prominent Quaker families and aided in the construction of the Brookville Academy, the Sandy Springs store, and possibly master plan historic sites Oakley, Cloverly, and Bloomfield. 18 acres of Richard Perry Budd, the uncle's estate on Brook Road, was sold for the construction of the Maryland Normal and Agricultural Institute, which was a pioneering trade school established in Sandy Spring for black students. Community historians identified 4 circa 1860s Budd family homes in the northeastern Montgomery County Black Oral History Study of 1983, and they were identified as having local significance, but all 4 have been demolished. The subject site is marked in red, and the former Budd sites are marked in blue on this map. So now moving on to the builders of our home. Perry Budd was born in 1861 to Samuel and Lydia Budd. Their 6 children likely all attended the Sharp Street School after it was established in 1866, but before public school was provided by Montgomery County. The Montgomery County's lack of higher education opportunities for black students indicates that he and his family must have made substantial efforts to secure him the secondary education needed to go to university. Despite the structural obstacles to gaining a primary and secondary education at 18, Perry Budd was accepted to study at the Centenary Biblical Institute, which is now known as Morgan State, which he attended starting in 1879. According to family history, Perry Budd was in Hampton, Virginia in 1886, where he met and tutored Amanda, also recorded as Alamanda Armstead. She was recorded as mixed race in the census, and family history records her as having Native American ancestry, although this remains unconfirmed due to the lack of recording of Native American history and ancestry. Perry Budd and Amanda Armstead returned to Sandy Spring together, married in 1887, and Amanda is remembered as a prolific homemaker who supported the Sharp Street Church, won prizes for her baking, and always kept her kitchen open to community members who needed help. Perry Budd began teaching at Linden School, also known as School Number 4, in the Mechanicsville district, later known as Olney, in 1887. He took a leadership role in the county education system, attending the Maryland State Progressive Teachers Convention as the county representative later that year. He continued teaching for at least 13 years. In 1905, he was appointed by the county school commissioners as a trustee for the Sandy Springs School, likely where he had begun his life as a student. Perry Budd then worked as a reporter for the Afro-American newspaper in 1908, where he reported on education-related and school board activity. 4 generations of the Budd family have lived at this home. Perry and Amanda's children and grandchildren were raised here and have used it as a home base as they traveled out of state to make their fortunes. Perry Budd died in 1933, and the home was purchased by his son Charles Budd. Zadie Riggs purchased the property in 1953 and lived at the house with her husband William Riggs and their 3 children and grandchildren. Zadie Riggs was a domestic worker and worked in an MCPS cafeteria in the 1950s, while William Riggs commuted all the way by bus to Washington, D.C. daily, where he was employed by the British Embassy. Under Zadie Riggs' ownership, the family supplemented their income by selling lumber from the wooded rear of the property. During the mid-20th century, the property surrounding the house was planted with apple, pear, persimmon orchards, as well as walnut trees and grape vineyard. Zadie canned much of the fruit in the home. The property passed from Zadie to Mary Alice Rose, who graduated from business school and worked as a supervisor for the National Association of Letter Carriers. Her husband, Ronald Wayne Rose Sr., was an Air Force veteran. Romaine Marie Rose, their daughter, now lives in the home and requested the designation. And on the screen are photos of the family taken at the home over the last century. The house has remained remarkably intact since its 1912 construction, and despite some modernizations, retains its striking size, massing, and design. Notable landscape features include the hedgerow in front of the home, which has been there since at least 1920. So here's our evaluation and recommendation. So the Budd House meets 2 designation criteria as listed in Chapter 24A of the Montgomery County Code and retains historic integrity to express its period of significance. It meets 1A, historical and cultural significance. The historic resource has character, interest, or value as part of the development, heritage, or cultural characteristics of the country, state, or nation. The Budd House is representative of the development of the African American community in Sandy Spring. The house was constructed by Perry Budd, a member of the prolific Budd family, which settled several of the free black communities in and around Sandy Spring, beginning in the early 1800s. Ancestors of Perry Budd were founding supporters of several of the historic churches that the black enclaves used as a social lifeline. And a portion of the family's holdings was used for the establishment of the Normal and Agricultural Institute, a pioneering institution for higher education for the black community. Although the Sharp Street United Methodist Church and Oddfellows Lodge have been designated as master plan historic sites, there are no dwellings associated with any of the black enclaves around Sandy Spring designated on the master plan for historic preservation. Most of the resources associated with the black enclaves of Sandy Spring and Cincinnati are no longer extant or highly altered. Therefore, the Budd House is a critical resource that represents a significant and unique part of the black experience in the county. The site also meets 1D, historic and cultural significance, exemplifies the cultural, economic, social, political, or historical heritage of the county and its communities. The Budd House has character, interest, and value representing the unique opportunities available to black residents in Quaker communities before and after emancipation. Due to the progressive political environment fostered by the Quakers in Sandy Spring, black inhabitants had early access to education and paid labor and established one of the earliest working and middle-class communities black communities in Montgomery County. Despite widespread slavery and general discrimination, the black community in Sandy Spring were able to gain an early foothold into land ownership and community development, evident from the establishment of the many black neighborhoods and the first elementary and first upper-level schools for black children in the county. Perry Budd was in the 2nd generation of landowners in his family and was able to construct a large, 2-story house at a time when many other families of color in Montgomery County were building small vernacular houses if they were able to purchase land at all. Although a house of this size would typically be unusual for a black elementary school teacher elsewhere in the county, this large, multi-story home is representative of the type of construction built by 2nd-generation landowners in Sandy Spring, although few examples survive. Many resources, particularly homes, have been lost due to the demolition of late 19th and early 20th century buildings. Preservation would recognize a cultural asset that reflects generations of African American life and underscores the importance of Black education to early generations of free Black residents. The Budd family were engaged in all aspects of relatively integrated Sandy Spring community, farming for white Quakers and helping them construct important civic spaces, while also working centrally in the establishment of the Black community. So overall, we request that the County Council takes the following actions. 1, finds that the house meets the designation criteria, and 2, lists the property in the master plan for historic preservation. If you have any questions.
Thank you so much for the amazing presentation. I wonder if anybody has a question. I see Councilmember Bojowondo.
Dawn and I were racing to the mic here. I appreciate it. As a Ashton Sandy Spring resident, and I was pointing to my colleagues. That's my road right there. Just very proud of this effort, and it's such a great part of our county and great story and great community that, as you said, was ahead of its time in Montgomery County, thanks to the Quakers in large part, and just that community. And it's a very unique, obviously people know about the Sandy Spring Slave Museum, but they don't know, I think, about the larger community that has been built around that and that still thrives in many ways. So I'm just personally an honored to be a part of that community, but I'm thankful for the planning board's work to lift this up, the Budd family history, and I know where this house is, and it's going to be really cool to see it historically designated. So thank you for all your work on it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Lukie.
Thank you, Madam President. And thank you for all of your hard work. It's a joy living in that community. And I have heard many presentations about Sandy Spring over the past few months, working with some scouts that are based in Ashton, because they have to do this for their citizenship in the community badge, and it's Eagle Scout required. And of course, this house was not discussed because it's not something that they would readily find on the internet. So guess what they're all going to get in response to today's presentation? They may have already had that requirement signed off, but they're going to learn some more because it's important for them. And they've done things like we've gone to hike and do cleanup all the way from 108 down to the spring itself, right? And I want to thank you for highlighting the other areas around there which don't include a home, and that's why this particular piece and designation is so important. But for example, Ash Cemetery. And note again, as my colleagues like to say, for all the millions watching at home, there was a Liberty tree planted there in the fall, and hopefully some tulips that will come up because I put some tulip bulbs around it. But there's going to be a ceremony there on May 3rd, and that's a great time for people to come out who've never visited before and who didn't know when they drive on these back roads what it is that they're driving by or why it's there or how it came to be, and a great time for them to come see this house as well as the Slave Museum and all the other attended properties that are in and around that area, and really be present. So thank you for this work. I'm very excited that we still have this house and that we can do this, and appreciate the attention to detail that you've all taken. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and thank you to the Planning Department for their amazing work as always. So with that, the public hearing for this item is scheduled for this afternoon at 1:30 p.m. and a Planning, Housing and Parks Committee work session is scheduled for March 16, 2026. Now we can move forward. Thank you. Have a nice day. I love the sweater, by the way. Rose, I can see that. Had to point it out. Agenda item number 2 is action on a resolution to approve the creation of Viva White Oak Development District. The Joint Economic Development and Government Operations and Fiscal Policy Committees recommend approval with amendments. I'm going to ask Chair Stewart, would you please share the Joint Committee's recommendation before we have Council staff to speak?
Thank you. Thank you, Council President. On January 28th, the Joint Government Operations and Fiscal Policy Committee and the Econ Committee voted to approve the resolution with 2 amendments. I'm going to turn it over to our staff in a moment. The resolution that the joint committees are recommending establishes the Tax Increment Finance, or TIF, Development District in White Oak, identifies the existing tax base that will continue to generate tax revenue to the general fund, establishes the tax increment that will generate revenue to support the issuance of TIF bonds for the public infrastructure required to develop the Viva White Oak project, and establishes the parameters for the levy of a special tax to backstop the anticipated TIF bonds. The resolution does not authorize the issuance of any bond series at this time. That will be something the council does in the future. The Viva White Oak Development District would consist of approximately 294 acres located in the eastern portion of the county near the U.S. Food and Drug Administration headquarters and Adventist Hospital. The current owner and the contract purchaser of the property to be included within the proposed development district have submitted a petition to create the district as required by the county code. I also want to note, in addition to passing this resolution out of committee, the joint committees did discuss the need to review the county code regarding the creation of TIFs. This is our very first time doing it. There are a lot of lessons learned throughout this process, and I just want to thank Mr. Gorzelek, Mr. Ali for all of their work on this. There were 2 amendments that we did also pass, but I'm going to let the experts discuss those 2 amendments and another that was included in the packet. So, Mr. Gorzelek, it is all yours.
All right. So there were 2 amendments which the Joint Committee recommended. The first, both of which, if you look in circle pages 121 and 122 of the packet, that shows where they would propose to be set forth in the resolution as amended. The first amendment relates to the local park within the district. The amendment basically sets it's the text of the amendment is set forth in the cover sheet of the packet on bullet point 4 of the description issue segment, and it sets forth the sort of the backstop by which the timing for when the local park must be delivered. It notes that it needs to be before the issuance of the bonds that we're presently contemplating as Series C bonds in the executive fiscal report. The actual nomenclature may be subject to change, and the resolution accounts for that. And it also must be before the issuance of the final use and occupancy certificate for the townhouse development that is anticipated during those earlier stages. So that's the first amendment. The second amendment relates to the use of the, which is set forth, on bullet point 5 of the description issue section of the cover sheet. Relates to the use of the development district funds to finance additional roadway and transportation infrastructure improvements outside the geographic boundaries of the development district, but which directly relate, that is allowed under the county code.
Thank you so much for that explanation. The joint committees fully support the 2 amendments. Does anybody have any questions? No, that was simple. That was clear. It took a lot of work behind the scenes. You have no idea. But I think we were able to move it forward. Is there anything else that you have before I bring this other issue going on?
No, nothing else.
Okay, so last year when we were discussing this TIF, I mentioned the great importance of ensuring that this project will be having at least 15% NPDO. I actually mentioned 17.5 as we did with the tax abatement. And in 15, I have met with the developers, and I'm just going to say the disappointment that we have an amazing project moving forward, but not the ability to ensure that the developer will meet the standard that this county has had for the past 12 years. It's nothing new. And I understand that the developer still refuses to move forward with 15 instead of 12.5%. I thought 15 was a really reasonable compromise as we're doing across the county. But looking at the intensity of this refusal to meet reality, because the point is not just to say that we have a lot of affordable housing in this particular area. The point is to say that people within the project will be able to afford to live here, or more people in this case. So I'm not gonna continue pushing this forward because it has been very clear that that a different standard will be applied here. And with that, if no one has any questions, I think we're ready to vote. And I'm going to call for a motion. We have a recommendation from the Economic Development and Government Operations and Fiscal Policy Committee and Economic Development Committees. Those in favor of approving the Viva White Oak Development District, please raise your hand. You should say something. Yeah.
Well, you know what? I don't want to stand in the way of the vote. So, but I'll make the motion to pass the resolution as amended by the committee, and I'll come back after the vote and make a comment.
Oh, simple.
Well, I got more to say, but I want to get the vote done. Okay. After. Yeah.
So those in favor, please raise your hand. And I know Councilmember Lawrence, is she not on? She raised her hand? Okay, I don't see her. All right, so it's unanimous. Thank you so much. With that, I'm going to ask Councilmember Meng, who's the district council member for this area, to share a few remarks.
Thank you. Thank you to the GO committee for the work on this. Thank you to we can see Councilmember Sales vote. Thank you to my colleagues for voting this through, and to the executive branch for getting this done. And thank you to MCB, our developer partners on this project, for the intensity of the community engagement and the thoughtfulness with which you all have approached this project. East County is thrilled. I am thrilled. I know this council is excited to be able to be part of this movement that is really righting historical long-held historical wrongs, underinvestment on this side of the county, and together we are changing that, and we greatly appreciate your partnership. With we've got a 100% affordable senior housing building that is coming. I mean, it's a very exciting project. You all have gone above and beyond, and this is going to be not just a jewel in the crown of East County, but in Montgomery County as a whole, and you all have been a terrific partners. So we are very excited to see all of this move forward, and so glad to have gotten this done today. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I don't see anybody wanting to speak, so we're going to move forward. Thank you for your time, everybody. You didn't want to speak, do you? I guess you do.
No, I really, Council President, I want to thank you and all the members of the County Council. This resolution shows that Montgomery County can do things differently. And to spur development, especially on a property like this that has sat for so long without moving forward. We all share your desire and your hope that this move forward expeditiously, and we'll be working with MCB to bring the next resolution for bond funding forward.
Okay, we'll be watching. Thank you so much for your time. And with that, we're going to move on to agenda item number 3. Is the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Moved by Councilmember Don Lutke, second by Councilmember Katz. All those in favor, please raise your hand. The motion passes. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we will return at 1:15 p.m. to continue our meeting. We are now in recess.